Hello, welcome to Self-Learning Podcast by Dr. Sushma Singh. Let us start discussion on Unit 5, Issues of Epistemology. And we are continuing our topic, Empiricism. And subtopic is David Hume, Belief as a Habit. David Hume argued that as human beings do in fact live and function in the physical world, we should try to observe how they do so. According to Hume, the proper goal of philosophy is simply to explain why we believe what we do. Hume's analysis of human belief begins with a careful distinction among our mental contents of impressions, which are direct, vivid, and forceful products of immediate experience. Ideas are mere copies of these original impressions. For example, the color of the tree at which I am now looking is an impression, while my memory of the color of my mother's hair is merely an idea. Since each idea must be derived from an antecedent impression, Hume supposed it always makes sense to inquire into the origins of the idea by asking from which impressions it is derived. The apparent connection of one idea to another is invariably the result of an association that we manufacture ourselves. We use our mental operations to link ideas to each other in one of three ways: resemblance, contiguity, or cause and effect. Experience provides us with both the ideas themselves and our awareness of their association. All human beliefs result from repeated applications of these simple associations. Such beliefs can reach beyond the content of present sense impressions and memory by appealing to presumed connections of cause and effect. But since each idea is distinct and separable from every other, there is no self-evident relation. These connections can only be derived from our experience of similar cases. Hume argues that causal reasoning can never be justified rationally. In order to learn, we must suppose that our past experiences bear some relevance to present and future cases. Although we need believe that the further will be like the past, the truth of that belief is not self-evident. In fact, it is always possible for nature to change, so inferences from past to future are never rationally certain. Thus, in Hume's view, all beliefs as a matter of fact are fundamentally non-rational. We may consider Hume's favorite example about our belief that the sun will rise tomorrow. Clearly, this is a matter of fact. It rests on our conviction that each sunrise is an effect caused by the rotation of the earth. But our belief in that causal relation is based on past observations, and our confidence that it will continue tomorrow cannot be justified by the reference to the past. So, we have no rational basis for believing that the sun will rise tomorrow, yet we do believe it. Skepticism quite properly forbids us to speculate beyond the content of our present experience and memory, yet we find it entirely natural to believe much more than that. Hume held that these unjustifiable beliefs can be explained by reference to custom or habit. This is how we learn from experience. When I observe the constant conjunction of events in my experience, I grow accustomed to associating them with each other. Although many past cases of sunrise do not guarantee the future of the nature, my experience of them does get me used to the idea and produces in me an expectation that the sun will rise again tomorrow. I cannot prove that it will, but I feel that it must. Remember that the association of ideas is a powerful natural process in which separate ideas come to be joined together in the mind. Of course, they can be associated with each other by rational means, as they are in the relations of ideas that constitute mathematical knowledge. But even where this is possible, Hume argued, reason is a slow and inefficient guide. While the habits acquired by much repetition can produce a powerful conviction that is independent of reason. On belief in matters of fact arise from sentiment rather than from reason. For Hume, imagination and belief differ only in degree of conviction with which their objects are anticipated. Although this positive answer may seem disappointing, Hume maintained that the custom or habit is a guide of life and the foundation of all natural sciences. The primitive human belief, Hume noted, is that we actually see the physical objects themselves. But modern philosophy and science have persuaded us that this is not literally true. According to representationalist philosophy, we have no direct experience of the presumed cause. If we know objects only by means of ideas, then we cannot use those ideas to establish a causal connection between the things and the objects they are supposed to represent. In fact, Hume supposed that our belief in the reality of an external world is entirely non-rational. It cannot be supported either as a rational of ideas or even as a matter of fact. Although it is utterly unjustifiable, however, belief in the external world is natural and unavoidable. We are in the habit of supposing that our ideas have external referents, even though we can have no real evidence for doing so. Where does this leave us? Hume believed himself to be carrying out the empiricist program with rigorous consistency. Locke honestly proposed the possibility of deriving knowledge from experience. but did not carry it far enough, and Berkeley noticed further implications. Next, Hume has shown that empiricism inevitably leads to an utter and total skepticism. According to Hume, knowledge of pure mathematics is secure because it rests only on the relations of ideas, without presuming anything about the world. Experimental observations conducted without any assumption of the existence of the material objects permit us to use our experience in forming useful habits. Any other epistemological effort, especially if it involves the pretense of achieving useful abstract knowledge, is meaningless and unreliable. The most reasonable position Hume held is a mitigated skepticism that humbly accepts the limitations of human knowledge while pursuing the legitimate aims of mathematics and the sciences. In our non-philosophical movements, of course, we will be thrown back upon the natural beliefs of everyday life. No matter how lacking in rational, Hume thought that a human being is a bundle of different perceptions, and in that sense has no fixed identity. He criticized the ideas that everything has a cause. In fact, he doubted everything that he assumed on the basis of our common sense, and also on the basis of scientific knowledge. Philosophers have found it hard to answer his penetrating doubts. Hume influenced philosophical debates about principles of knowledge. As mentioned earlier, Hume has been described as awakening Kant from his dogmatic slumber. It is partly as a reaction to Hume that the Kant attempted a theory of knowledge. He wanted to rise above the skepticism of Hume to look for certainties. Yet he was not in favor of the pure rationalism of Descartes. Immanuel Kant took rationality of the human mind to a transcendental level, and this attempt put him in the category of idealists. In the next section, we will try forward our discussion of theories of knowledge to cover the idealist approach to understanding the social reality around us. Before moving on to the next section, it is a good idea to complete reflection for absorbing what John Locke and David Hume have said about the ways of acquiring knowledge. Now let us wind up the session and take rest. Thank you very much for engaging yourself with the self-learning podcast.